He stared in confusion at the second thing he had stumbled over that young morning. In the middle of his limping hurry to the bathroom, he had tripped over another object that, for some reason, was sitting in the middle of the closet doorway. How in the world did I get taken out by my own backpack? Chapter 2. Sophia had been short-called 2 hours ago. She didn't mind. It was a clear expectation of the job, one that she planned for. In her job as a flight attendant, so many unplanned things occurred on a daily basis that she was used to being prepared for the unexpected. Some of her fellow flight crew members viewed their reserve line schedule as days off with a possibility of being interrupted by work. Sophia viewed them as work days with a possibility of being interrupted by a day off. Over the years, she had learned that realistic expectations were the key to avoiding disappointment, be it at work or home. She knew that if she packed a reserve day with activities that she or her family were looking forward to, only to have it all blown up because she was called to work, then they would all be let down at best. However, if she expected to work on a reserve day and chose to spend her pre-work time getting a few things done or taking one of her grown children to lunch, then didn't get called in, well, that was a bonus. Sophia even had to admit that sometimes not getting called into work could be a disappointment. Her 2 kids were grown and out of the house, and her husband, Scott, worked a normal schedule. This made her job all the more appealing. She was sure to meet interesting people, serve them, and keep them safe. It was a joy to her. She even viewed the occasional upset passenger or the people who treated her like a glorified waitress as welcome challenges. There's always a reason why people act like they do, she knew, even when they themselves don't know the reason. On some short calls, Sophia had to pop out of bed and be at the airport on an hour's notice. On this fine morning, she had 2 hours' notice. Another bonus, Sophia thought gratefully. This allowed her to not have to short-circuit her morning routine. She never skipped it. She simply had a modified version when the predictably unpredictable occurred. On occasion, Sophia entertained the thought of getting up at 3 a.m. on days she was on the early reserve line. That would mean she had time to get in her full day prep, as she called it, just in case the call came. It didn't take much effort for Scott to persuade her to change her mind, especially since a 3 a.m. wake-up time meant going to bed at 8 p.m. the night before. They both knew their unhurried morning routines were important because that time set the tone for the entire day. However, when discussing radical changes like this, Scott would say something like, "Let's not go all climb Kilimanjaro crazy," or make some other goofy retort. Scott was a dyed-in-the-wool believer in discipline and commitment, but lighten up, have fun, and don't take yourself too seriously were among his core values. Scott and Sophia both knew that a clear awareness of your personal core values was critical for a purposeful, meaningful life. They helped you govern your thoughts and choices throughout any given day. Why would they be important for companies and organizations and not individuals and families? Sophia smiled as she thought of Scott. He was another thing to be grateful for. Daily. She was also grateful for all she had learned over the years and, more importantly, applied to her life. For example, Sophia knew that it didn't matter if the short call came with 1 or 2 hours' notice, waking her from a dead sleep or interrupting lunch with a friend. Her expectations were always aligned with reality, so her reality would not become disappointment. She had learned a formula in a relationship book, and it had always stuck with her. If E is greater than R, then R equals D. If your expectations, E, are greater than your reality, R, then your reality, R, will equal disappointment, D. Now, with her rollerboard and backpack in tow, Sophia made her way toward the security line, knowing she had plenty of time to stop at the crew lounge before she needed to be at her gate. She enjoyed not rushing. Even more, she enjoyed the freedom of not worrying whether or not she packed everything she needed. Maybe one day she would get to thank the passenger who shared his packing method with her on a leg from NYC to Indianapolis. She had adopted it as her packing SOP, standard operating procedure. In this case, it was simply a checklist of what she needed to pack. She had an SOP for a 1-day trip, 2-day trip, 3-day trip,
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.